Hi, welcome. In today's video, we are going to study the concept of electric flux. What is a flux? So, during the discussion of electric field, we have told about intensity, that is field strength, right? And we have studied electric field intensity also. If you remember, electric field intensity was defined as force per unit charge, or force on a particular charge can be defined as electric field intensity. So, while explaining that electric field intensity, what we did was we took a charge plus Q, right? Now, whenever you are trying to bring another charge of same nature, right, of any magnitude, this particular positive charge is going to exert a force on that inbringing charge. So, we found that by symmetry, we have a region around this charge where this particular charge will give you some kind of force. Now, how we represented that force? We represented that force by drawing vectors directing outwards or radially outwards from this positive charge. Is it not? So, this is how we represented the force on incoming charge. Now, what were these lines? What were these lines? These lines, right? These lines were vectors representing force. Is it not? These were the lines representing the force. So, if I have some charge here, plus Q will insert or exert a force on that particular charge on this line. So, we call it as line of force, right? So, this is force line, or we can call it as line of force. Is it not? So, this is by considering all the direction or any direction. Okay, so the points to remember here is, whenever you have a plus Q charge lying in a space, it will have its own field around it. Whenever you are trying to bring another charge of similar nature, that is plus Q, another plus Q, irrespective of the magnitude, it will experience a force. And depending upon on where you are bringing that force, for example, you are bringing it here, then I will draw that this is the force experienced by that. So, I say that this is the force of line or line of force. Getting? So, if I bring the charge from here, I say that this is line of force. This is line of force. So, this in turn tells you that you can represent a field using line of force, or to be more clear, lines of force. There can be more lines. As in this diagram, I can represent the field by more such lines. I can draw so many lines here. Doesn't matter, right? So, field can be represented by these lines of force. That is the idea. Okay. Now, these lines of force are nothing but termed as electric flux. Interesting. So, what is electric flux? So, electric flux, okay, basically these lines of force representing the force exerted by plus Q on any other charge, and these lines are known as flux lines. These lines are known as flux lines. So, these lines of force are known as flux lines, and this is due to a plus Q charge. So, the field which you are getting here is electric field. So, that is why this is known as electric flux. I hope the concept is very clear. Okay, how I term it. Okay, then who told all this? Whatever I have explained you till now was put forward by Faraday, a very common name in physics, is it not? Faraday. So, this is a part of Faraday's experiment. Okay, Coulomb has termed it for n number of charges, I know, but Faraday has studied it further, deeper, and he need to represent this force experienced by charges, and he told us that we can represent these forces by using field of lines experienced by Coulomb or explained by Coulomb, and he termed these lines of field or field of lines as flux lines. Okay, and according to Faraday, there is one more thing. Okay, there is one more thing. These electric flux lines can travel in any direction as per this, right? As per this explanation, these electric flux lines can travel in any direction. So keeping that in mind, so I'll just label this. Okay, so keeping that in mind, if I write plus q, I can represent a field like this, is it not? Instead of drawing it like a circular field, I can just draw a field like this where these are flux lines. Agree? So this is actually the representation of a field by Faraday, and he says that, this is the point, he says that this field is scalar field. While explaining this field was derived from Coulomb's explanation, right? So when we represent a field like this, it has direction in particular, right? In particular direction, means these field lines are in a particular direction. So we say that these field of lines are having a certain direction. But Faraday is saying that if I have a plus q charge, I will have flux lines originating from that plus q charge in any direction. So the direction is not particular. When direction is not particular, I term it as a scalar quantity. Is it not? Because any scalar quantity example you take, it exists at a point, or that scalar quantity will have some travel history, but whose direction is not important for me. Okay, if a quantity has some travel history, or if a quantity has some direction of travel, but only if its measurable quantity, only its value is important to me, I term such fellows are also scalars, right? So keeping that in mind, here it has direction, I agree, but it can be in any direction. Since it can be in any direction, he called or termed the field produced by this plus q as a scalar field. This is very important to remember. Okay, so according to Faraday's explanation, okay, electric flux lines are scalar. Okay, or electric field produced or represented by these flux lines are scalar in nature. Okay, now if it has to be scalar in nature, okay, if it doesn't depend upon direction, he was to explain it further, in the sense why it is not having particular direction. Is it not? That will be a question. Hello, why? Tell me. Okay, you are telling that it does not have any particular direction. These flux lines can travel in any direction, and what is important for me is the value of the flux line, not in this which direction that flux line is traveling. Okay, I agree. Now tell me why you are telling that. So he explained that any flux line, okay, any flux line will always originate from a plus q charge and terminate on a minus q charge. That means in general, always a flux line will originate from a positive charge and will terminate on negative charge. Okay, interesting. Okay, now one more thing. So somebody asked him, what if this negative charge is not present, negative energy is not present in this world, there is only positive energy? If possible, he told, if that condition is possible, then these flux lines will look like this. Means what? It will start from plus q and it is traveling somewhere. when somewhere comes, we say that, yeah, engineers say that it is going to infinity. Okay, so it originates from plus q and it will travel to some unknown location, that is infinity, when if a negative charge is absent. If negative charge was present, then what will happen? All these flux lines will try to terminate on that negative charge. This is the idea. Okay. Now, what is the direction of flux line? So, the direction of the flux line depends upon presence of negative charge. So, is it does it have a particular direction which you can define? No. It depends upon presence of negative charge. Okay. If negative charge is absent, it is going to terminate at infinity. In which direction to infinity? I don't know, some radial direction. So, is it nice to measure the direction of flux lines? No. It is not going to give me any idea. Then what is going to give me an idea? The quantity of flux line is going to give me an idea. This is the next thing which you should remember. What do you mean by quantity of flux line? There are how many flux lines? Okay, there are how many flux lines? If this, I see here in this example, I have drawn 4 flux lines. If I am going on drawing, okay, so many flux lines, okay, from this plus q to minus q, there are so many flux lines, so many of them, okay, so many of them. Just imagine there are so. What does this mean now? Does it convey you any meaning? This was also explained by Faraday. What he told is, if there are more and more lines from plus q, what are these lines actually? Who will draw it for us? These are imaginary lines. They are not real lines. Okay, such lines does not exist. This is drawn by us for representation, for explanation. So, these imaginary lines, okay, are more. That means, if this particular plus q is having very high magnitude, okay, in 10 power 3, 10 power 4 kind of, okay, very high magnitude of coulombs, then this is going to exert a very high force, right? Very high force. Nearer you are, you will experience very high force. What does it mean? So, Faraday says, more the force, you will have more flux lines. That means, or in other words, more the flux lines, more the force, more the intensity. So, if you can plot this imaginary lines on a white paper, then you can have an idea of what is the intensity of the field produced by that charge. I have more flux lines, more strength of the field. I have less flux lines, I have less strength of the field. So, Faraday conveyed us the number of flux lines is directly proportional to strength of the field in that area. Is that very clear? Okay. So, keeping these things in mind, okay, I need some mathematical way of representing this electric flux. Okay. So, we use a Greek letter as a symbol for electric flux. So, electric flux is basically represented by a Greek letter psi. It is represented by a Greek letter psi. And one more thing we should remember in this topic is, electric flux is also known as electric displacement. This is also known as electric displacement. This is another name called for electric flux. Why it is known as electric displacement? Because these flux lines help us in understanding the traveling of the field. So, that is why it is also known as electric displacement. Now, talking about so many flux lines in area, what comes to our mind? Density, right? So, to understand it in a better way, you take an example of population density. So, how you measure population density? So, why the topic population density comes to your mind? Because in a particular area or in a locality, there are more and more people staying there. Okay, their habitat is restricted to certain area. So maybe in city, maybe in a town area, density of population will be more, right? More and more people, okay, travel from inner places or villages, okay, maybe due to educational reasons, maybe job reasons, right? They shift to the places. Where they shift? They prefer to shift to city. That's why the population in city is increasing, right, daily. And in India, the scenario is, yeah, very high, right? So the density of population in certain place is high. So we measure it by density, is it not? When you start doing head counts, and at particular time of point, head count becomes difficult. So initially, okay, in a locality there were 10 families. See, easily you said there were 10 families. Okay, then we said 20 families, then 30 families, 100 families. So in each family, how many members? Okay, so what we do is now we make a locality, we make an area. In that particular area, okay, how many people are there? Based on that, we say that the density of that particular area is this much. So instead of going for head count, we will go for better measurable quantity, which is density. Okay, on an average, this many people are there in that area. Okay, so what we do? What is density? How we measure density? By area. By area. So number by area will give you density. Very straightforward. Same way, we need to know what is electric flux density. So since I told you that number of electric flux lines will give you the strength of the field. So it is necessary to measure this number of lines or strength. This is not, it is interdependent. So if you can count the number of lines, you can guess what is the strength. Or if you know the strength, the reverse engineering. If you know the strength, you can, or you should be able to guess what there are how many number of flux lines. So we can do this easily if you know what is electric flux density. So electric flux density is very straightforward. What does it say? Number of flux line in a given area. So to be unit specific, we measure it for unit area. When I say unit area, it is 1 meter square area because SI unit, right? Usually it is 1 meter square area when I say unit area, when we apply SI units. But in our application, in the sense in field theory or electromagnetics applications, this area which we are talking about will be in nanometers or millimeters. So it is always better to explain electric flux density, okay, considering smaller areas. Instead of unit area, instead of using the word unit area, we will use it for definition purpose, but for explanation purpose, we will consider a small area, okay, instead of unit area. So we will consider a small area, okay, maybe something like this, okay. I'll draw a small area, not necessary a what is a square area or rectangle area, okay, anything, a small area, a measurable area is enough. Measurable area, if I take, this is, okay, normal vector of this area. Imagine, okay, it's exactly on the top of this, okay, exactly on the top of this, so that I can represent this vector as A n cap. I hope you remember all these representations, right, which we have studied previously. So this is an unit vector A n cap. What I am representing? I am representing this surface area as a vector, okay. So this surface area is placed such a way that it has a normal vector like this. So this surface is a small surface. So I take this surface as ds vector. I represent the surface area as a vector. That's what I want to tell you. Okay, freeze this in your mind. I am taking surface as a vector. I'll tell you the reason later. I am taking this surface as a vector. Okay, so surface area is measured as length into breadth, but I represent that this surface is kept like this, Okay, I am mentioning how the surface is kept. That's why surface area becomes vector quantity. Okay, because when I say length into breadth, it just gives me idea of area. How it is kept, I don't get idea, right? Only value I get. So to get an exact idea where I have kept, I am telling that it is normal to the plane. That is the idea, normal to the plane, any plane. Okay, that is up to you. You can consider xy plane. Then where is this ds? Normal to xy plane. If you consider xz plane, where is this lying? Normal to that. Who is giving that idea? This a n cap is telling you that. This a n cap is telling you that. That's why this is a vector. I hope that is very clear. Okay, if I just write ds, I will not understand where is this surface lying. Now, since I represent that this is a n cap, I understood that this surface is held normal to the plane. Okay. Now, assume that there are flux lines passing. Flux lines are passing. Okay, there are so many flux lines passing through. The idea is I have hold this small area, surface area. Okay, you assume that this is a small glass plate, held normal, and you are lighting a torch below that. Okay, so if you have ability to see the light rays, so what will happen? We call it as beam of light. Okay, you are good in physics, right? So beam of light. So I hold a small glass surface maybe, and I switch on a torch light below that, under that. What will happen? This beam of light will cross this glass and come out, right? Now, if you can represent this beam of light as rays of light, forgetting about refraction, okay, all that other basic physics laws, okay, for explanation purpose, let us neglect Snell's law. Now, you switch on this, okay, you have light rays coming, so many light rays, right? Beam of light, but let us assume that there are light. So, what will happen? Normal to this glass plate, there will be so many flux lines coming. If I tilt the glass little bit, what will happen? Still the flux lines will come. Okay, almost normal to that, or in the direction of how you hold the torch, whatever, right? So same idea. Now assume that this plate is held between plus q and minus q. Why? Because you know that flux lines will originate from plus q and terminate on minus q. So I am holding this surface in between plus q and minus q. So can you imagine that? So there are so many flux lines passing through this. Okay, so since this is a small area, what I do? I don't represent this. Okay, or I don't draw all these flux lines passing through this plate. What I do? Instead of that, I take a single vector. Okay, a single vector. See the beauty of flux density. I'll take a single vector which is something like this. A single vector which is something like this, which I represent as density. Okay, density, which is nothing but for me d vector. So flux density is represented by d vector. So instead of representing so many flux lines passing through this small area, I represent it by a single vector known as electric flux density vector. So what does electric flux density tells me? It gives me how many flux lines are passing through this area ds. So this entire flux lines passing through this area is represented now by a single vector, capital D. Measure capital D. If you know how to measure capital D, you will get how many flux lines passing through this area. Okay, so from the conventional definition of density, this capital D can be now defined as, okay, and write general expression, then I will make it vector psi divided by area. Hope this is very clear, right? Because what is the definition of density? Number by area. So here what is my number? Flux lines. So psi represents number of flux lines, S represent surface area. So my flux density is number of flux lines by surface area. Okay, but I know that. Now listen carefully. Now you will understand mathematically why, geometrically you understood why I took it as a vector. Now mathematical also, see, this D is a vector, flux density is a vector, is it not? Now in a mathematical expression, when your left hand side is vector, right hand side also should be vector. This psi cannot be a vector because we repeatedly told, Faraday told that flux lines are scalar. So psi is a value, a scalar value. So this psi cannot be a vector. Now the right hand side should be vector because left hand side is vector. So the only way to make it mathematically is this S should be a vector. And that makes sense because this S has to be vector, then only I can define all this. So this makes sense. So mathematically as well as geometrically, we understand that surface area should be considered as a vector. Okay. So if I take this general equation in terms of this diagram, then I should be writing, okay, D vector as, that is electric flux density, D vector as d psi, that is small psi, because this particular surface area is very small. So only very small amount of flux lines will be passing through that. So I usually represent it by small d psi. Okay, only differential, if there will be 100 of flux lines, only 10 flux lines will pass through this small area. So only differential number of flux lines will pass through. So I write d psi and below it is ds vector. ds vector. Okay. Now I can rewrite this as d vector equals d psi divided by ds an cap. This is also true because ds vector is nothing but surface area into direction. So I can write d vector. So this is also true, this is also true. So I define mathematically electric flux density as the ratio of electric flux to the surface area which I am considering. Okay. Now how will I define magnitude of D? Define, okay, not representing. How will I define magnitude of D? Because that is what I need, right? Basically what I am trying to do is magnitude of D, right? Magnitude of D. So what is magnitude of D? So that is from the definition itself. Magnitude of D is number of flux lines passing through the surface held normal to the flux lines. Okay, I will repeat how you write definition for magnitude of D. So definition of magnitude of D is the number of flux lines passing through the surface held normal to those flux lines. That is the definition. So if you need a bookish definitions, will help for exams. But conceptually I think electric flux and electric flux density is now very clear. So to summarize, what is electric flux? So electric flux is nothing but they are lines of force originating from a positive charge and terminating on a negative charge. And if negative charge is absent, these lines are expected to terminate at unknown locality, or we call it as infinity. Okay, and this number of flux lines will tell me the strength of the field. So that is represented using density, a new term density. Electric flux is denoted by Greek letter psi and electric flux density is denoted by capital letter D. So electric flux density can be mathematically written as a ratio of number of flux lines and surface area. So we write D is equal to psi by S. And remember, since D is a vector, surface area has to be treated as a vector, and this makes sense because how we hold the surface area, okay, to make flux lines pass through is very important, because we have to hold it perpendicular or normal to the flux line itself. Okay, because if you hold the surface parallel to flux line, the flux lines will not cross this surface. Flux lines will pass parallelly to the surface, then we cannot measure D. If we tilt it little bit, some flux lines will escape from this side. Okay, so it is always advisable, or you should always hold this surface normal, then only you can measure flux lines properly. So thank you for watching this video. I will come up with more videos on flux, okay, flux density in terms of other theorems, Okay, thank you for watching.